is Valley News Live at 4.
We start with new information this afternoon, including charges of attempted murder and reckless endangerment being filed against 28-year-old Michael Yusa, the man who was shot by a North Dakota State trooper and is accused of hitting a motorcyclist, shooting out of an apartment building, and crashing into a car on Tuesday. Authorities allege that a pickup truck driven by Yusa rear-ended 34-year-old Eric O'Meara shortly before 5 p.m. on Interstate 29 near the West Acres Mall. He then took off, leaving O'Meara seriously injured. Shortly after that, shots were reported from an apartment balcony near Essentia Hospital. The gunman, later identified as Yusa, fled that scene in the pickup believed to have been involved in the hit and run. Yusa was later stopped by a state trooper, took off again, and crashed into another vehicle. Authorities then say he got out of the pickup and started firing at law enforcement. He was shot twice by Trooper Miles Romanus. The Bureau of Criminal Investigation is investigating the officer-involved shooting. New at 4, a traffic stop led to a drug bust worth $840,000. It happened Tuesday on I-94, about 13 miles east of Bismarck. Troopers searched the vehicle and found about 6 pounds of meth, 8,000 counterfeit M30 oxycodone pills containing fentanyl concealed inside the spare tire. 2 pistols were also found in the engine compartments. 3 men from Washington State were arrested on multiple drug charges. Temps have been mild, the humidity down. I'd say that's a positive combination considering the weather we've been dealing with recently. Let's check out what's to come tonight. Hutch?
Mike, thanks so much, and good late afternoon, everyone. Heading into our Thursday evening, we see some clouds developing out to the west. There are some showers and, in fact, strong thunderstorms to severe thunderstorms already developing. Here's a look at temperatures today, a little bit cooler, as mentioned, 70s for much of northwest Minnesota so far to near 80 degrees. We have scattered sprinkles of rain moving along the Highway 52 corridor there, north and west of the Jamestown area. And a little bit closer look at, well, let's go in closer to the storm warning near the Bismarck area. Starting to see thunderstorms forming down in south central parts of North Dakota. These are drifting to the south and east right now, but boy, we're a long ways out from any of that activity. For us, temperatures will stay in the 80s or near 80-degree range as we go through the next couple of hours. Fargo, yes, we have a chance in southeast North Dakota of seeing a couple of thunderstorms, mainly later this evening, probably for many of us closer to that 10 o'clock hour, but it stays dry for most of our northern counties tonight with comfortable temperatures. More thunder in the forecast for the weekend ahead. We'll detail that and tell you the track and timing of our storms tonight in more detail in a moment.
For now, it's comfortable. Sure sounds good.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Hutch.
We saw mad smoke coming down. We ran to the side of the building. We see her jump out the window.
I see a naked woman jumping out the window. This has to be the craziest day ever.
A woman is okay after jumping from a second-story apartment to escape a fire in Fargo. Investigators say the fire started in the living room of an apartment around 7:45 this morning in the 700 block of 23rd Street South. Crews put the fire out in about 15 minutes. It was contained to the one apartment, but it did cause about $25,000 in damage. That woman was checked out by medical crews, turned down additional care. President Joe Biden is said to be doing okay after testing positive for COVID-19. Deborah Alferoni reports from the White House.
Fresh off a visit to Massachusetts.
We need to act.
And a 4-day trip overseas.
The United States is going to remain an active, engaged partner in the Middle East.
President Biden has tested positive for COVID-19. Epidemiologist and CBS News contributor Dr. Celine Gounder spoke about the president's case.
He's been double vaccinated and double boosted. He is a healthy 79-year-old. He also has started Paxlovid, which we know further reduces the risk of hospitalization.
The president's doctor said those mild symptoms include runny nose, fatigue, and an occasional dry cough.
I understand that the symptoms are light. I hope they continue to be so. That was my experience, and I hope that that's the case for the president.
The president had a crime prevention event scheduled in Pennsylvania today, but the White House says he will stay in isolation until he tests negative. Deborah Alferone, CBS News, the White House.
Vice President Kamala Harris, who previously recovered from COVID-19, tested negative for the virus this morning. She was last with the president on Tuesday. COVID cases and hospitalizations are increasing across the country, with the highly contagious BA.5 subvariant now accounting for about 76% of all COVID infections in the U.S. Now, many people are asking if they had COVID in the past, will they have immunity against the variant? Health officials say not necessarily. The new subvariant is one reason why those eligible for a booster should not delay getting it.
Moderna and Pfizer are both working on these updated combo vaccines that will include the original formulation as well as a BA.5 component. Those will not be available until probably late October, early November. So if you're eligible for a booster now, don't wait for that one. You'll still be able to get that one.
The CDC says the U.S. is averaging more than 120,000 cases a day, but with many people testing at home, the actual number is likely much higher. While Dr. Gounder says that we don't know much about the new variant in kids, parents should get children vaccinated as soon as possible. The first polio case in the United States in nearly a decade has been reported. New York health officials did not immediately offer details on who the resident was, whether the person was vaccinated, or their current condition. State officials did say it appeared the person had a vaccine-derived strain of the virus, perhaps from someone who got live vaccine available in other countries, but not the U.S., and spread it. Polio was once one of the nation's most feared diseases, with annual outbreaks causing thousands of cases of paralysis, many of them in children. Polio spreads mostly from person to person or through contaminated water. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization's Emergency Committee convened today to consider for the second time within weeks whether to declare monkeypox a global crisis. African officials say that they are already treating the contaminants epidemic as an emergency, but experts elsewhere say an emergency declaration unnecessary. Monkeypox has been found in Africa for decades, but the disease started circulating the globe last year. Earlier today, the U.S. House passed legislation that would protect access to birth control. It's the latest move in a broader effort by Democrats to enshrine into federal law rights they fear could come under threat by the U.S. Supreme Court following its decision to wipe away the constitutional right to an abortion. The Right to Contraception Act now goes to the Senate, where there's a question of whether it will attract the support of 10 Republicans needed to pass it. The House January 6th committee goes prime time tonight for another hearing, focusing on former President Trump's actions as rioters violated and stormed the Capitol, and law enforcement eventually turned the tide. Natalie Brand previews from Capitol Hill.
Ahead of tonight's hearing, Select Committee member Adam Kinzinger tweeted a preview, video depositions of White House staffers who were with former President Trump on January 6th.
He was always in the dining room. It's my understanding he was watching television.
Was the violence Capitol visible on the screen on the television? Yes.
The panel's 8th hearing will focus on what the former president did and did not do during the first hours of the U.S. Capitol assault, before he later posted this tweet calling off his supporters.
So go home. We love you. You're very special.
The fact that nothing happened and that it took so long for him to act is incredibly puzzling and distressing.
CBS News has confirmed the star witnesses are expected to be former Deputy White House Press Secretary Sarah Matthews and former Deputy National Security Advisor Matthew Pottinger.
The committee is expected to detail the efforts by the former president's inner circle to try and convince him to take action during the assault, as well as the fallout later that evening and into the next day.
The Washington Post reports that fallout could include outtakes from this video released by the former president on January 7th.
My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power.
The committee says tonight's hearing is likely not the last one. There's a potential for more, especially around the release of their report expected later this year.
And we will be taking this live report right here starting at 7 o'clock tonight. Former Minneapolis police officer Thomas Lane has been sentenced to 2.5 years in prison on a federal civil rights charge for his role in the killing of George Floyd. Federal prosecutors had asked for a longer sentence, up to 6.5 years, in line with federal guidelines. Two other officers, J. Alexander King and Tu Tao, were also convicted of violating Floyd's civil rights and will be sentenced later. Trust in the Minneapolis Police Department was questioned again after the shooting of Tekle Sundberg last week. Police released body cam footage to the public after a sniper killed Sundberg, ending a more than 6-hour standoff. Mayor Jacob Fry says the body camera clips released yesterday are some of the best video they have out of hundreds of hours of footage, but they did not capture the fatal shot. Shortly after police arrived on the scene, these body camera shows officers in a stairwell when bullets are fired from the hallway. A short time later, the clips show attempts at communicating with Sundberg as he leans out his window.
Why don't you come out your apartment door with your hands up? You're under arrest. We're not going anywhere. Mr. Sundberg, we need you to come out and cooperate with us. We don't want to hurt you. We just want to go home.
Officers claimed that Sundberg was threatening to shoot them and breaking out windows. Details of what led to Sundberg's last moments are part of the ongoing BCA investigation. But Sundberg's parents, who watched the footage, released a statement saying that they send their deepest sympathies to all of those impacted by Tekle's mental health crisis.